All right, you back in the Mirage University. It's the boy Blackbeard, the historian. Hopefully you had a peaceful weekend and this will be a successful week to everybody out there. Once again, I appreciate all the new subscribers. Anybody passing these tapes around to family and friends, talking over these concepts. I highly appreciate it. And keep up the good work. All right, keep up the good work. In today's tape, we're going to talk about some Hebrew Kabbalistic alchemy. And we're going to talk about some occult psychology. All right. Basically, what we're going to do in this tape is we're going to have a real critical analysis of the self. Now, when I say the self, that basically is what we suppose ourselves to be. We're going to be looking a little bit into that. The homework assignment for today's tape, I want you to relook at the tape called The Most High. Who is the Most High 01? Who is the Most High 01? And this tape actually was produced and published around the time of the solar eclipse. So it wasn't too long ago. It was about a month and a half ago. So relook at that tape because it'll give you more background into what I'm going to be talking about. The spiritual system we're using is the Hebrew Kabbalistic diagram. Just to get a brief look at that. This is the Hebrew Kabbalistic diagram right here in front of you. We will be dealing with the spheres of Kether, which is that blind, bright white light that you see hovering above the head of this being. And we also will be dealing with the sphere of Malkuth, which is the last sphere you see at the very, very bottom, which deals with the physical. So we're going to be talking about how the spiritual condenses into the physical. And we're going to talk about also how, the only thing that is different between us and the Most High is subjective reality versus objective reality. And that'll make sense, as I go into that more in a minute. But basically, this tape will just help us analyze ourselves, get a more understanding of who and what we really are. A lot of us suppose ourselves to be our personalities, or as we'll see in a minute, our egos. But that is actually just a mask or an actor type role that we playing in these physical bodies. And that is the subjective role that we playing. But we come from a more objective reality, or a whole macro type of reality. So right now we are experiencing reality in a micro point of view, whereas the Most High experiences reality in an objective point of view, or macro point of view. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing, is bridging, the gap between the two. Also, if you read in Psalms 82, I want to say, it even says in there that ye are sons of the Most High, but will die like mere men. It says ye are sons of the Most High, but will die like mere men, which is very, very Kabbalistic in nature. And we'll get more understanding of what that's talking about. Now, a lot of us, have been hearing me talk about the Aboriginal American history, dealing with the various copper-colored people here in America. And now we need to go a little bit more into the spiritual cosmic origin of us. Because as far as, our physical manifestation here, we did have older civilizations such as Atlantis and Lemuria. And then, there may be even some older than that we don't have on record. But as far as just the predecessor to, what we call the American Empire, it was something much older. But what we need to start thinking is we need to start going more into the veil of the unknown. And we need to start penetrating to the veil of the incomprehensible, all right, or the incomprehensible, excuse me, because that is actually what we manifest from. So just because you are Aboriginal American to Earth, or to the continent of America, that also will make you Aboriginal to the Earth itself. But everybody that is Aboriginal to the Earth had to come from somewhere else. All right. So we're going to look a little bit more to where we came from on the somewhere else side. All right. Now, before I go too deep into this book that I'm going to be reading today, it's called The Night Side of Eden by Kenneth Grant. The book that I'm reading today is called The Night Side of Eden by Kenneth Grant. But I'm going to be going into this book and basically talking about how, our spiritual selves manifested out of the triple stage inner darkness, or what was known as the triple stage darkness. If you all are familiar with, the occult, and especially if you're familiar with the tree of life, you have heard of the triple stage darkness. Now, a lot of quote unquote black people are familiar with this, primordial substance that we call melanin. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but melanin has a lot of different variations depending on the dimension that it's in. Usually we are manifesting and interacting with melanin from a third density point of view. So that means that we're dealing with more of the carbon and more of the basic building blocks of physical life. Because if a lot of us can remember from science class, or at least I can remember from the periodic chart, I can remember them saying that the sixth element of carbon was the building block element of all life. And we also have to think how man or Adam was created on the 6th day. All right. So the 6th element, carbon, is this, intercontinental, interstellar rather, carbon. All right. And that is what our spiritual bodies are made out of, and that is what we manifested through. Now, I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but as I read a little bit more, we'll make some sense of this stuff. So we go on a little bit more to just basically the aboriginals or the Aborigines manifesting out of the triple stage darkness or the Most High. Because when we talk about the Most High is not only a blinding light, but the Most High also is a pitch black darkness. Let me repeat. Not only is the Most High a blinding light, but the Most High also is a pitch black darkness. And all original things come from the pitch black darkness. All right. So just like you see on my book cover in front of you, the background that you see, that blue indigo background, actually is the Most High. All right. It is the objective reality. All right. So as I said, we're going to be reading in the book, The Night Side of Eden, called by Kenneth Grant, The Night Side of Eden by Kenneth Grant. And we're going to be reading in a part called The Light That Is Not. So once again, this triple stage interstellar blackness or interstage darkness of the Most High, where we were born from, that's what we're going to be reading about a little bit. And as usual, just keep up with me and we will analyze as we go through. The light that is not. According to occult lore, cosmic consciousness manifests in humanity as sentience, which concentrates itself into an individualized center of awareness and splits into subject and object. Subject identifies itself with the conscious principle as ego, and object its mechanism of awareness. This identification of consciousness with ego is illusory, and thereby the principle of consciousness is veiled. The ego imagines itself to be an entity discrete from the object which it senses, and instead of pure feeling, hearing, seeing, tasting, knowing, there is the false assumption that I feel, I hear, I see, I taste, I know. It is thus that the phenomenal world, or the world of appearances, is represented to us as Malkuth. The entire process from Kether to Malkuth is one of successive veiling accompanied by increasing loss of awareness of the principle of consciousness, the whole purpose of incarnation being the redemption and the reintegration of the lost principle. So before I go go further, what they talking about right now is that this blinding white light that you see at the top is the principal sphere of Kether, all right, or the objective reality. And this is the origin of cosmic consciousness. And it says right here that when cosmic consciousness manifests into humanity, it concentrates itself in an individualized center of awareness and splits into subject and object. That happens down here on the 10th sphere of Malkuth. All right. Now, Malkuth actually is also another word for the physical earth itself. So the physical earth itself is the realm of subjective experience. Kether is the realm of objective experience. So the Most High would be objective experience. The human being would be subjective experience. Also, too, when the Most High manifests itself as a human being, it loses its objective ability to perceive reality. All right. What do I mean by this? In a previous tape, I talked about how Kether, or the Most High, actually is not absorbed in its creation. For an example, like with this picture you see, this blinding white light you see actually is not absorbed into that being. It actually is projecting and manifesting itself through that being and hovering above that being, believe it or not. So the Most High doesn't get absorbed in its reality. When it gets absorbed into the reality, that's when it becomes subjective or a human being. So really, you are a manifestation of the Most High. The only difference is you are subjective, whereas the Most High is objective. And you have a little I, or an ego, whereas the Most High doesn't have an ego. All right. Now, when I say an ego, I don't mean something negative, like, you just don't want to listen to nobody. I mean the mere fact that you think you are an I. So the pronoun I, like when you say, I am going to the store, I am going to bed, I am going to use the bathroom, I am going to get some water. You are supposing that you are the I, but you really are not. You really are just experiencing going to bed. You really are just experiencing going to get some water. You're really just experiencing to go to the bathroom. So the whole point, like this thing says, the entire process from Kether to Malkuth is one of successive veiling accompanied by increasing loss of awareness of the principle of consciousness, the whole purpose of incarnation being the redemption and reintegration of the lost principle. So you really are only here in the physical world to manifest the Most High as a physical human being. All right. And you are here to actually have a state of experience where you realize that you are both part of the objective reality and you are part of the subjective reality. So that is actually why you are here. All right. So let me continue. In whichever light they are regarded, the problem remains unchanged: how to resolve the perpetual game of hide and seek, which Kether, or the Most High, plays through the primary veils of subject and object, or Hokmah and Bina, and I'll talk about that in a future tape, the nexus of which is located in Daath, or death. The cause of the mystery, glamour, or ignorance, as the Buddhists call it, is the initial and mistaken identity of the self with its objects. This is caused mainly by the fact that, as the Kabbalists claim, Kether is in Malkuth and Malkuth is in Kether, but after a different manner. The presence of the presence of Kether in Malkuth creates an illusion of reality in all objects. The glamour engenders sentience, which bewilders and drowns the self in delusion. Sri Ramakrishna composed and sang many hymns of surpassing beauty to this world-bewitching Maya, or magic play of glamour, an illusion generated in the senses of humanity, which mistakes the unreal for the real. Now, before I continue, let me give you a breakdown of that real quick. So, in a lot of the different Vedic systems or the different Buddhic systems, they talk about a concept of known as Maya. Now, what is Maya? Maya is when the Most High projects itself into a physical being, and then that physical being creates a little ego or an I for itself. And everything that physical being experiences through that ego, through that I, or through that personality, it supposes to be real, but it actually isn't. So it's almost like this. Let's say you see an astronaut. Let's say you see an astronaut floating in space, on National Geographic or Discovery or whatever, right? Now, you know damn well when you see that astronaut, you know it's actually a person inside of that suit. So although you see that, astronaut suit flying around, you know that there's actually a person inside of it. So really what you are experiencing is the person inside of the astronaut suit. You're not experiencing the astronaut suit itself. The astronaut suit itself actually has no life, because when the person takes off that suit and put it up in the closet, it's just a suit sitting there and it's just a helmet sitting there. It doesn't really become active until that person puts its body into it and starts activating and moving around in the suit. So your physical body works the same way. Kether actually is what you are, just a pure being and pure spirit. And your physical body, or Malkuth, or the realm of subjective experience, you can view that as the spacesuit itself. Okay. So what happened is your spirit put itself inside of this physical body, and now your physical body has been activated. But your physical body was not activated prior to that spirit coming in it. And on top of that, you actually are the spirit and not the physical body. So the illusions are actually what the physical body or the ego experiences. All right. The spirit inside knows that it's not the physical body, but that physical being doesn't necessarily know that. So this is why you have a lot of people that they think that they are their personality. All right. Let me give you an example. Like for me, like Chaz Mirage is basically a suit or a personality or a certain ego that my spirit is using to do a certain work on this planet right now. Like, I know that I am not Chaz. I can be really whoever I want. That's why I have so many different Mirages. See, I use Mirage as the surname because Mirage is also like illusion. And my physical body is an illusion. And a lot of people that look at me, they may literally think like, oh, that's Chaz, but they don't realize that this is just a spirit that has manifested through this body and has adopted and created a certain aura, and a certain vibration that we all have called Chaz. Okay. But I know myself that I'm not Chaz. When I physically die, this body will shed, but my spirit actually will move on. And I will even assume a new personality or a new identity. So your spirit, or the Kether aspect of you, is actually immortal. But these little eyes and these little egos you have in these different lifetimes, they have a mortality rate. You know what I'm saying? And eventually they will die. So that's what it means basically by saying that, that the glamour engenders sentience, which bewilders and drowns the self in delusion. So the reason why you are able to even experience all this is because you got a spirit, or a soul, because the spirit and the soul are two different things, but we still, kind of putting it all together right now. So in other words, this is where you get the whole concept of a zombie from. See, a zombie basically is a physical body that is automatically moving, but it's only moving from more of a, more of a motor function type of area of processing and moving around. Like a zombie doesn't have a spirit or no form of consciousness. It's almost like something that's on autopilot. Okay. So a zombie basically is just a physical body that's still moving around, but it has no awareness. It doesn't even have a being or no kind of sentience or no kind of spirit even inside of it. All right. That's where we get the term a zombie from. Okay. So let's continue. Oh, also it says that, that this Maya or this glamour that Kether, can create, it can cause humanity to mistake the senses, and mistake certain realities and experiences for being real, So yeah, they are real in the physical body and they are real in this physical plane, but outside of this existence, they aren't real. Now, I know that's hard to understand, but just keep that in the back of your mind. All right, let's continue. Kether is the focus of cosmic consciousness, and its first manifestation is light. The Ayin, which is its source, is not darkness, but absence of light, and therefore the true essence of light. Kether is the infinite point in space-time at which absence of light becomes its presence by turning the void or Ayin inside out. Kether and the resulting tree of life may therefore be conceived as the interior of the void, manifesting in space, which is the menstruum of light. Now, what that is basically saying is that Kether, or this manifestation of light that you see at the very, very top, actually is the first reaction or the first activity of the Ayin. And the Ayin basically is known as the void, or known as the limitless light that is not. All right, so you have uncreated light and you have created light. All right, so this picture of Kether you seen at the top, that is actually created light. But uncreated light is what you all call darkness, or what you all call melanin. Melanin actually is uncreated light. All right, it is a light that cannot be seen by the visible spectrum experienced at Malkuth. Okay, so in other words, in order to experience the light that is not, you have to go through the realm of death. All right, let me continue. In the microcosm, this light manifests as the light of consciousness that illuminates form. It is the light by which and in which a thought can be visualized in the darkness of the mind, as dreams appear in the darkness of sleep. In the celestial sphere, consciousness manifests as physical light, the sun. In the mineral kingdom, it manifests as gold. Biologically considered, it is the phallus, which perpetuates the seed of light or consciousness in the animal kingdom. These lights are one light, Kether, and they proceed from an infinite absence of light, the Ayin. So let me go over this real quick. It says right here that the light in the celestial sphere or consciousness manifests as physical light. That is Kether. All right, that blinding white light you see at the top. Next, it says that also too, before I go ahead, when you all see that yellow sun at the sky, that is actually a manifestation of Kether. I forgot to go over that. So what you have is you have a nighttime sun, which is beyond the veil of comprehension, and then you have the daytime sun, which is the one we see every day. So any kind of solar aspect you see, or any kind of solar phenomenon, is Kether. So light actually is Kether. All right. Also too, it says that the phallus of the male perpetuates the seed of light, or the seed of consciousness, in the animal kingdom. So the reason why life is actually able to grow in the animal kingdom on Malkuth is because it is transmitted through the male phallus. Okay, so the male phallus and the sperm actually is also a form of Kether, or the Most High. All right, if a lot of you all are into y'all's tarot cards, you probably have come across that. But sperm actually is the Most High. That's right. We're going into some deep science. Sperm itself is actually a form of condensed solar light. Sperm is nothing but liquid light. Let me repeat. Sperm is nothing but liquid light. Okay, let's continue. As it pours through Kether, it is split into 3 rays, which form the 3 supernal branches of the tree. These have 3 pylons, Hokmah, Daath, and Bina, thus concentrating 16 kalas, which with their reflection in the world of antimatter, or the Ayin, constitute the 32 paths or kalas of the tree of life. Basically, all that's talking about is that this one manifestation of Kether, all right, this blinding white light, it actually converts itself into all these different spheres you see. So the tree of life and all these different Sephiroth, they actually are all different manifestations of Kether, believe it or not, or different manifestations of light. So in other words, the one supreme sublime light manifests itself in a variety of ways. So let's continue. Darkness is absent of light, an absence that makes possible the presence of all that appears to be. Non-being, of which the symbol is darkness, is the source of being, and between these two terminals is a solution, the continuum. It's a French word, excuse me. Between these two terminals is represented by the abyss, which separates the noumenal world of Kether, which is its twin terminals. Sorry about that. I kind of butchered that part. Let me skip past that. Daath is knowledge of the phenomenal world, reflected downwards through the tunnels of Set at the back of the tree. This knowledge, or Daath, is the death of the self. It represents the primary stage at which the cerements are woven about the mummy that enters Amenta in the desert of Set. It appears on the front of the tree as the apparently living semblance of the ego, which it identifies itself on its gradual descent into matter, or Malkuth. Its awakening to mundane consciousness is in reality a sleep and a death from which the original principle of consciousness may be salvaged only by traveling the paths of Amenta in reverse. What this is saying right here is that in order to get back to that pure state of being, like I was saying, you have to go through the sphere of Daath, or the sphere of death. Let me show you that real quick. Now, the sphere of Daath actually is a hidden sphere. And that is actually right above. I know you all see that cross, with the sun, the yellow one, the yellow sphere with the cross. Right above that is a hidden sphere on the throat chakra called Daath, or also the sphere of death. And this must be crossed in order to go back into a pure state of being within Kether. So in other words, in order to actually become one with Kether, you have to eliminate the subjective reality of your life. That's why a lot of times when people are becoming spiritual, certain things of your ego and certain things of your personality starts to get shed away. Certain mundane, interest you had. In other words, you start becoming a lot more cosmic in your thinking. You start becoming a lot more cosmic in your emotional areas as well. And you start to become a little more objective. So in other words, it's not always about what your individual eye is experiencing. You start to see reality from a bird's eye point of view. Okay. So, in order to have this experience of wholeness, you actually have to die to a certain degree. Now, the death that they are talking about, it may not be a physical death. It may be a certain psychological death, a certain emotional death, a certain social death. It could be a lot of different deaths. But the point is that in order to experience this holistic point of reality that Kether experiences, you have to go through that death. All right. Now I want to see the next part I want to get y'all to, and then we're going to wrap it up, because basically we are talking about objective reality versus subjective reality, the Most High and the individual man or woman, all right, and how there really is no difference other than how we experience reality, all right. Check this out. I am, or the ego, is identical with Daath, for ego is the shadow or Shakti, or veiling power of Kether at the lightning swift moment of its bifurcation into Hokmah and Binah, or Horus and Set. Daath is the ghost or the shadow of reality, an illusory concept that arises in human consciousness but which has no existence apart from it. It is known to Hindu metaphysics as the Chit Jata Granthi, the subtle and illusory sense of identity that causes consciousness, Chit, to imagine itself possessed by an individual mind and body, which in reality are inexistent, lifeless, and inert, Jata. Granthi is the knot that binds them together in seeming identity. So like I told you, I remember how I said that you are supposing yourself to be real. So let's go over this. It says that the consciousness imagines itself to possess an individual mind and body and reality, but really this mind, body, and reality is in existence, is lifeless and inert. So like I said, the spacesuit doesn't work until the spirit or the consciousness actually enters into this spacesuit. You're not going to see a t-shirt and a pair of jeans just walking around with no body inside of it. So if you want to get a good picture of what I'm saying, imagine a t-shirt, a hat, a pair of shoes, and a pair of jeans walking around but with no body inside of it. You would find that to be pretty weird, wouldn't you? Well, that would be the same as what a zombie is. So when you have a being or a person wearing the hat or a person wearing the shirt, this is actually, this Kether Malkuth relationship. So basically all it is that you are actually a pure spirit or a pure being experiencing a physical world. All right. So you're not your physical body. Okay. You're actually using your physical body. All right. You're actually using your physical body. And we all manifested from the triple stage darkness of the Most High or of Kether. All right. And that's actually what we have to return back to, because the same thing that gave us birth also is the same thing that causes our death. Believe it or not, it's the same energy. It's just two different polarities of it. So that is a book called The Night Side of Eden by Kenneth Grant. Deals with a lot of esoteric and occult themes. I kind of stuttered a little bit, but I hope you can overall get the point of what I'm trying to say in this tape. The point is that you are living an individual life as a human being, whether male or female, and you are actually supposing yourself to be who you are. So that name that your mom and dad gave you is actually just the personality. It is the ego, or it is the little I that you represent, but it is not totally who you are. And in order to live a fulfilled life, we have to actually separate ourselves from the little I or the ego and create union with the absolute or the objective reality. Because one thing about it, no matter how we feel about certain things, no matter what we think about certain things, and no matter how we see certain things, that may not always be the true reality. We could be at a football game, for example, and I could be sitting in the nosebleeds with somebody else, and I could be looking down on the field and think I saw one thing, but it could be somebody on the opposite side of the field, and they could see something totally different. All right. Now, the reason why we're able to experience it like that, because I have a subjective reality and that other person has a subjective reality. And we are both perceiving what is happening on a football field two different ways. But the objective reality is what is actually going down on the football field. Okay. So this is the subjective reality experience. Let me give you an example. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. So, this weekend, rest in peace to the sister Kanika Jenkins. I saw she had her funerary services and stuff like that. And in this case, it had a lot of mysteries and a lot of things we were looking to find out that we couldn't really find out. And a lot of us were reporting on this situation from a subjective point of view, meaning that we were reporting what we thought we saw as individuals. So you had a lot of security and surveillance footage that was put out, and some people thought they saw a guy in a blue coat. Some people thought they saw a guy in a black hoodie. Some people thought they saw a guy, grabbing her around a corner. Some people thought they saw a girl holding her. Some people thought they saw somebody drop something in her drink. Now, all of these represent the subjective reality. And the objective reality would be whatever really it is what happened. Okay. Now, do I know what happened in that case? No, I do not. But let's just say hypothetically that, let's say that she was schemed upon, and some people at the hotel party, maybe set her up to put her in a hard situation, and then she may have ended up losing her life. Now, however that situation really went down, that is the objective reality. Now, if it included somebody wearing a blue shirt or a blue hoodie in the kitchen, okay, cool. If it really included somebody dropping something in her drink, okay, cool. But the point is that the objective reality is what things really are. It's not determined on how you feel. It's not determined on how you see it. And it's not determined on what you want it to be and what you think about it. It actually is what it is. So when people use that statement, it is what it is, what they are saying is that the objective reality rules all. And usually when people start trying to argue the objective reality, they start talking about how they feel and what they want it to be. Basically things that their ego and their personality is projecting. All right. So this is how I kind of keep myself safe and how I, make certain decisions. And I can tell who inside of my mind is creating something. I can tell if it was my spirit that manifests something, or I can tell if it was my ego. Usually your ego is be concerned on how it feels, how it thinks, and basically everything that is tied into the realm of glamour, everything is tied into the realm of illusion, because it wants to be able to survive. It supposes itself to be real. Like, why would it want to die? But that may not be the case, you see. And at some point, all of our egos, all our little physical bodies, and these, people that we suppose ourselves to be, this thing has to die at some point. It has to die. So this is just a little occult psychology dealing with the Hebrew Kabbalistic system of alchemy and self-analysis, and basically how to correct our behavior and how to have ourselves in tune with the Most High. Because the point of the game is you really are supposed to be becoming the Most High on the planet. Are you the Most High? On the inside you are. But physically you are whatever the ego or personality or whatever actor role that you playing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to wrap it up with this. Let's take the actor Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington is the actual man. He is the objective reality. But the subjective reality will be the different roles he plays. So when he plays John Q, that's a subjective reality. When he plays Frank Lucas, that's a subjective reality. When he plays the guy in Training Day, that's a subjective reality. You see what I'm saying? All these different roles and movies he plays, these are the subjective realities. But the pure being that's experiencing all of it is actually Denzel Washington. So actors get this. This is why Jim Carrey came out recently and said that he actually was just a cluster of tetrahedrons. And Jim Carrey doesn't exist. This is what he's talking about. He's probably figured this out. He's talking about basically the experience of Kether, or the experience of the objective reality versus the subjective reality. All right. So it's the boy Blackbeard Mirage, just dealing with some occult science, of the Aboriginal Earth people. All right. So we all come from a cosmic spiritual origin. All right. In the celestial heavens. All right. So yes, we are Earth Aborigines, but just keep remembering in your mind that you come from a spiritual origin that is based in the triple stage interstellar darkness, or what we call the Most High. All right. So stay tuned. Look out for the next tape. I'm out.